Please welcome Sarah Haupt. Please welcome Julia Snook.
Into the ring, it's Snooky.
And now, direct from California, Emmy nominee and one of the animation producers on Space Jam, please welcome Jerry Rees.
Michael did.
Hello, hello.
Oh, that's who the toaster guy is.
That's
Oh,
me.
stop. I had to make sure I didn't get a copyright claim. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make this an epic introduction.
Yes. Well, and I've got Swackhammer here to say hello to y'all.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
It was a sculpt
Hi, Jay. I don't think we've met.
No, hi.
Hi, Julia.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit. We heard you sounded very mechanical there. Your voice went into the ether a bit. Could you say again? The signal was breaking up.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, sounds good now.
Can you hear me now?
Let me do a
Yes.
double check to see.
Awesome.
If,
Sorry, I don't think I had met you yet, so I was just introducing myself.
All right, cool. So you're Julia? Cool.
Yes.
Nice to meet
Part
you.
of the movie review club, we used to do movies in person, and then during COVID, we came up with this. So this is now how we do movie review.
Excellent. And Jordan, thanks for inviting me.
I'm a 5.5 years professional software engineer. I'm a big fan of animation, but I was never really much of a sports fan. So it seems that Dad was kind of more into the sports thing than me. So given that, it seemed like I didn't really, as a kid, I didn't really advance past the level of liking cartoons to the point where somehow I could understand the whole sports thing. So it's like,
Right.
and last year's big documentary, The Last Dance, gave us a good insight into a guy that I only got introduced to from a film involving beloved cartoon characters in sports.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, I learned that he played in the Bulls from '84 to '98, and the focus on the series was the Bulls winning their last championship. They were big 98, 97.
Yeah, that was quite a documentary.
What's at the intro?
I enjoyed that documentary very much. It gave me a lot more knowledge about what was going on in Michael Jordan's life than I knew at the time. I only knew him from, seeing him on games, of course, and then of course on the set. It was great working with him. Oh, I like your basketball.
Yeah, I can go for any game that uses bouncy balls.
Yes. Oh, it was amazing watching him on the set. He was such a wizard with the basketball, and we'd set up for shots, and he would just maneuver like a superhero on the set.
I was kind of curious about how much the documentary was would cover on Space Jam, and it turns out about 2 to 3 minutes. Turns out the movie wasn't really particularly important to Michael as it was trying to get back to the basketball game to get out of his baseball body and into a basketball body and trying to get ready to basketball. So they built a whole basketball court on the set to put him to practice with, and they invited some of his teammates, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and some of the other Chicago Bulls players in order to get them ready to just get back into playing the game.
Right. Right,
Wait,
and
wait, wait.
Bruce Smith, who I helped bring him in, he was one of the animation directors. There was Bruce Smith and Tony Cervoni were the two animation directors that I brought in. And Bruce Smith got invited by Michael Jordan to play in those games where he had his NBA buddies, and he invited one of our animation directors, Bruce Smith, to join the game. So nobody else was allowed to watch. It was just Michael and his NBA buddies, right? But he invited Bruce to go in. So Bruce got to play. First he said, no, that's fine. I don't want to intrude. And I told him he was crazy. I said, you have to go in. Michael Jordan invited you into the inner sanctum. You can play with NBA players. You got to go. So the next time he actually did go, and he told Michael, well, you invited me before. I actually brought my gear so I could dress up for the court today. So he let him in, and our animation director, Bruce, actually Michael was guarding him, and he actually shot over Michael's head and made a basket. And Jordan couldn't believe that our guy had done that. So he started trash talking him. And then, of course, he grabbed the ball and he did a big leap over everybody, including Bruce. But Bruce actually made a point when Michael Jordan was defending. And he always loved that. All the way home, he was just reliving it when he was driving home in the car. And he loved that Michael Jordan trash talked him on the set. He was just like, he called me names.
Okay, so first off,
Isn't it just as fun as Aaron Carter playing with Shaquille O'Neal? I know that song.
Yeah.
I first, the documentary revealed that Michael Jordan didn't quit because he just felt like it. He quit because, one, a book called The Jordan Rules was trying to take him down or something because of a bad reputation. Two, he was accused of these gambling habits in between games. And
right.
Three, a rather tragic one, his father died in a car wreck or some...
it was very sad.
And I didn't... it turns out Michael Jordan didn't get back into the NBA because of being dragged into a underworld cartoon just to play basketball against a bunch of aliens. He got back into the NBA because, well, it's hard to explain, but it's something about a baseball strike and baseball players being replaced by other players, and suddenly him realizing that somehow he's not good at baseball. So he's like, maybe I better get back into the game. So he starts hanging out with some of his Chicago Bulls buddies, and then he crafts a declarative statement with just 2 words: "I'm back." And
that was great.
And he starts playing the game again. So I'm pretty sure that clarifies how he managed to get back in the game. So they played 2 more championships, successfully go through the whole final season just to win champion 6 repeat, the legendary 3-peat repeat. They managed to pull it off. That's the last dance.
Right.
So now that we got that out of the way, let's take on what is our primary subject for today: Space Jam. First question: Where? Oh, Marvin the Martian, right there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only Looney Tunes shirt I got. I mean, I think the first question is pretty obvious. I mean, why Looney Tunes?
I have some of the Monstars here too. That was one of my illustrations of the Monstars.
Oh yeah. Well, my question would be, where did the genesis or idea start for a movie like Space Jam?
I'm not sure how it started. I got called to be an animation producer and help get ready for the shoot a few weeks before they started, only about 7 weeks before they started filming. And my agent called me and a producer I was working with. And I was a writer, director, but sometimes I would help produce when they needed it. And I had a deal that was in the works at Sony to write and direct an original feature that was my own. So, but Ivan Reitman needed help with this, with the Space Jam project. And so my agent called and said, they really need people with your kind of animation experience to come in and help organize it because it's heading towards a shoot. and they don't have all the planning in place to be ready to get the shots they need. They need somebody to go in and really help put storyboards together, put the character model sheets together, put all of that stuff together so they're ready to shoot, because they don't have the proper planning in place yet. So they described it as being a real sort of crazy adventure. They said it will be kind of the equivalent of jumping on a bull in the rodeo, where you just take a wild ride with this experience. And are you ready to jump on the bull, as it were? So I said yes and jumped in. So my whole introduction to it was 7 weeks out from the shoot. I had to dive in, take a look at everything that was going on, try to organize, help the team put storyboards together for the sequences. I helped introduce the idea of having computer backgrounds for the basketball court on my home computer on a 3D program. I showed them how you could paint wood texture and then replicate it to make a 3-dimensional floor that you could move around on with the computer. So in just many, many ways, I tried to help them get ready to do the shoot. And then just jumping ahead for a moment, during the shoot, in those first few days, they gave me a machine that would print out a picture of the shot. And actually, I have a book here that shows you an example. While they were shooting Jordan, I would be just a few feet away, and I could push a button, and right at that moment, it would take a picture of Jordan in whatever pose he was in, and it would print out. I could then tear that off, and I could draw a picture of the character next to it so they'd understand how the character was going to pose next to Jordan. So if you'll bear with me just a moment, I'll hold up. It's a very thick book with a lot of pages.
It's a stage Bible.
Yes, it's huge. But there's just an example of Jordan on the set, and then I'd print it out and then draw the rest of the characters around it so they could see ahead of time where the animation should go to make the shot complete. So as you can see, there's many shots in this book. So that was part of my responsibility, was to help them see. So when Joe Pitka, the director, would call cut, and then Jordan would finish with a shot, they could run over and take a look at my drawing pinned up on the board. And then they'd understand, oh, that's Bugs is over here, or Daffy's over there, or whatever, and it would help them understand it. So I don't know where the first idea came from for Space Jam. I found out about it just when it was in need of a whole lot of help, and they asked me if I would dive in and help, and I did.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah, that sounded like it was getting pretty good. Mixing the live action with the animation, huh?
Yeah, it was really complex at the time. It was a huge task to take on. That's gotten much more commonplace now, but back at the time, it was a giant thing to take on.
I mean, this. I saw Ivan Reitman's name on there, and Ivan Reitman happens to be the Ghostbusters director. That explains why Bill Murray's in this film.
Yes, and that happened partway through, where it's just Ivan got the idea. He said, well, why don't we have Bill Murray come join in? And so the writers quickly wrote some of the sequences, changed it a little bit, and we did new storyboards to prepare for it. And so that was a surprise. When I joined the production, like, none of us knew that Bill Murray was going to show up. And it was just, I even had that idea one day. Said, oh, I bet you this would be fun. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the guy looked familiar on the golf course.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, so was this one of the more weirder projects at Warner Brothers that had people be thinking, is this a joke?
Yeah, it's Looney Tunes. You expect that to be Looney, don't you?
Exactly. You know, we had to bring in much more people than they had available at Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers had the animation department working on it. But then we had to bring in a separate group. There was one called Character Builders. They were in a whole different state. I believe it was Ohio. But James Cameron and Leslie Howe and a few people over there. We had Brian Smith. There was a whole team over there. And then there was a guy I had worked with back at Disney, Dave Spafford. His whole team worked along with us. There was a group in England, Uli Meyer and his whole team. worked as well. So there were multiple animation teams all working together. So we had to coordinate all our efforts to split up the movie into different parts. Go ahead. What were you saying, Julie?
I was saying that they were prepared for animation in 2020 when everyone was virtual then.
Right. Uli Meyer and his group has kept very active over the years, and it was his group that put together the sculpture of Swackhammer, so that the animators could turn it around different angles and see what it was like from the back or 3/4 or profile. So his group was super helpful.
Oh, yeah. Well, of all the sports superstars, why did Warner Brothers choose Michael Jordan of Chicago Bulls basketball?
I think he was just a major star. I think it was just because of his star power. He was a remarkable athlete and just so beloved. A lot of people just loved him. So I think it was his charisma and his athletic prowess and his reputation in the sports field.
I think he might be the kind of person who would probably stick up for me if I was bullied on the playground, because I'm on the autism spectrum. I feel like I'm an easy target.
Right.
Bullying autism. Exactly. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he was very much about being sort of a guardian and protector of people, and he just had that sort of presence. You felt like he was the strong guy who was not going to intimidate you. He was going to take care of you. So
yeah. Okay, so Lola Bunny was not in the classic Looney Tunes shorts. So what was Warner Brothers' motivation to create Lola Bunny for this film?
I think they wanted a romantic interest for Bugs Bunny, but it was very interesting. There was an artist named Ashanti Miller, and she got very interested in designing Lola, and she wanted her to be really athletic and very empowered, and not to just be sort of a sexy girl thing. And so Ashanti did most of the character design for Lola, and the Warner Brothers people were very happy. I certainly loved seeing the work she would do. She did a lot of like charcoal sketches and different kind of normal pencil sketches, but she also added color and everything, and very much most of the look of Lola Bunny was from Ashanti. She was the designer for that.
Well,
I also liked it was a very, sorry, Sarah. I was gonna say it's just a very early example of a powerful female athlete. I mean,
yeah.
She is a cartoon, but she also there's not that many out there that kids watch that you see. Oh, girls play basketball too. So that's probably another reason why they want to add in a female.
Yeah,
character.
although I would say that because Ashanti cared about it, and she's a female artist that was coming up with the design, she would do more than the design. She would draw situations where she could be powerful. Yeah, but she wouldn't do the whole storyboards, but she'd do situation like story illustrations. We also had then turn them into storyboards. But she really made sure that what you were talking about, that sort of empowered female, came through. So she sort of pushed the writers to include more events that she could be involved with to show herself. Yeah.
That's cool that the animator had that kind of power to affect the storyline.
Yeah, and she wasn't hired for that. She was hired to do illustrations like everyone else, but she just cared more about it and started doing it. And everybody responded. It's like I loved it, and I think Ivan Reitman and everybody just appreciated her work, and it started influencing the film. So that to me was a good lesson. That she sort of invented her position. It's like she wasn't hired to do that for Lola Bunny, but she just decided it mattered to her, and she contributed, and so her contribution was undeniable, and so now she's earned that reputation.
Oh, that's great.
She certainly has earned that reputation. I mean, she is a popular Looney Tune character outside the golden age of the theater. Character's been seen on Baby Looney Tunes, the Looney Tunes show, and even those now recent new Looney Tunes that came out of the Wabbit series.
Yeah, so she's earned her place, and Ashanti really helped establish a character, so that was good.
Yeah, I mean, MJ's being a class act in this film. I mean, well, he actually sees Lola score a basket, and he's like, "Girl's got some skills." So that's being a
Yes.
class act right there. He's not like you're being horny or anything like that. It's
Yeah, yeah.
better that he's being a class act. I mean,
He's impressed.
real.
He's genuinely impressed. Yeah.
Genuinely impressed. So, is this the first film you worked on that featured heavy CGI work, an up-and-coming tool at the time?
No, the first time was many years before. I was a computer graphics choreographer on the very first Tron. So I had a career as a Disney feature animator before that. So I animated on The Fox and the Hound and the small one, Christmas Special. I did cleanup animation on Pete's Dragon. And then Tron came into the studio, and I had all this training for traditional Disney feature animation, but I jumped in and did work as first I did production storyboards for Tron, along with Mobius, the famous artist Mobius. He actually shared a desk with me. He invited me to sit down, and so for a few weeks I was drawing on the same desk as the wonderful artist Mobius. And then after that, there were only two of us that did computer graphics choreography for the whole film. So any computer shots, it was either me or my friend Phil storyboarded and planned all the computer shots. So that was back in like 1981, 81.
1982 is when Tron came out.
That's when it was released, but we were working on it before that in the studio. So I was actually in 80 and 81. I was using computer tools back then.
There's like a real innovator in the whole computer graphics thing, and ILM comes and starts pushing the boundaries of what special effects can do, and then they make Abyss, Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, and they work slightly on Jumanji, and they really, and by the point where you get to making Space Jam, you got multiple high-end productions with computer graphics, including Independence Day and Twister, which came out the same year.
Right.
So another question: do you believe a film like this wouldn't have been made if CGI wasn't invented?
I think they were planning on doing it anyway. I mean, I talked to them about using the computer graphics to do the gymnasium floor, the basketball court floor. They were going to try to just figure out a way to do it with compositing the animation in, even if there wasn't computer graphics. So I lobbied for that. I advocated for using computer graphics for the basketball court, and then they adopted it. And Ed Jones was a wonderful visual effects supervisor that came in. And yes, you want to say something?
Did anyone catch the name of that basketball court in the Looney Tunes world?
What was it called?
Schlesinger. Like Leon Schlesinger.
Was that the name of the stadium?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's great. Little inside information for animation fans. That's great.
Yeah.
But Jordan, it just made me feel like they were going to go ahead with or without the computer. So I talked to them about it. I did a CGI basketball, and I put it in the middle of the 3D court that I had built. But I just replicated one tile of wood grain, and I kept replicating it, and then I turned it in perspective, put virtual lights on it, and then when they looked at it, that they thought it looked like a real ball casting real shadows on a floor. And I showed them. I said it was just this little sketch of wood grain flat, and I put it in a 3D program, and I replicated it, and I threw virtual lights on it. So then after that, they decided, okay, the whole big game with Jordan is going to be on a CGI floor in a CGI stadium. But before that, I'm not sure how they were planning to do it, but they were starting the film. And so I suggested that they use CGI for the stadium, and they did. So I don't know how they were going to do it before.
I mean, this was pretty advanced stuff, and they were able to pull it off. But yet, the visual effects Oscar ended up going to Independence Day instead of Space Jam or Twister or whatever.
Right. Well, a lot of good effort was going on in a lot of different studios, so everybody can't win.
Yeah. Okay, so did you consistently go into a store during that holiday season of 1996 and saw numerous Space Jam promotions and memorabilia, and how did you feel about it?
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable. It got a lot of publicity, and it was a good feeling for all of us that worked so hard on it to see that it was out there, that the public was getting to see all the hard work we did. I'm sure that you all noticed what a long credit list it has. There so many people worked on that film. It's just
Yeah, I got to watch the
huge
whole
list.
credit list, especially that bumper
Yeah.
end, because can't have a Looney Tunes without their favorite outro.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta keep the spirit of the Looney Tunes alive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was great for everybody that worked on it to be able to see that it was getting promotion out there. A dear friend of mine, Brad Bird, directed Iron Giant, and he saw sort of the opposite. He didn't see much publicity happening for it, and people love the film. It's a terrific film, but at the time, he didn't see that kind of publicity when his film came out, and so we definitely appreciated the studio doing promotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the PR. In fact, that's made more of a cult classic these days, and I should know because the best critiquing from the Looney Tunes is always from the audience.
It's true. It's true. It's an audience favorite or not. Depending, they either like it or they don't, and it's nice to see how many people connected with it, feel nostalgic about it.
Yeah, despite its cheesy B-movie nature and kid-friendly status, do you feel like you guys made a good movie?
I think I leave it up to the fans to decide that. I leave it to the fans to decide that, but I know everybody worked really hard, and whatever they were doing, whatever scene they were working on, whatever sort of moment they were working on, everybody just tried their best, and so if people like it, that's great. But I think we all got an A for effort, and I leave it up to everybody else to figure out where it sits in their canon of film classics, like good, medium, not so good, but fun, inventive. Sometimes things can be
Parents, I mean,
like, for instance, with Tron, I feel like that was really innovative. I don't necessarily feel like it's a terrific movie as far as story, but I think it's wildly innovative, and I felt like Space Jam was a similar thing where, it may or may not achieve great movie status, but it was truly innovative, and there's a lot of entertainment going on.
And I think for so many people, it's very nostalgic and iconic, just reminds them of their childhood, and you might watch it back and think differently of it, but I think everybody thinks back on it as a kid and thinking, oh, that was a great movie, like that was a awesome movie.
Yeah.
Well, my dad took me to see it. This is like the first movie he took me to see. I think Mom before that was taking me to the movies, but then Dad one day was like, no, Mom, I can't. Mom was like, one day, no, I can't do the movie thing this time. You probably take him over. And so it seems to work out for him because, one, he's probably more of a sports fan than me, and two, he knew that I had this real big affinity liking for cartoons. So so somehow this movie combines both our interests, and this it turns out he seems to enjoy it. He didn't think Space Jam 2: A New Legacy would top what 1996 was able to pull off. So yeah.
Have you seen it yet, Jordan? The new one?
No, I have not. But I feel like I should. I'm just wondering. What the heck do I do? Do I jump into it? Do I recommend it? Do I do an HBO Max thing? I don't know. But
I haven't seen it yet either. So.
Okay, so
okay. So we're not
different plans, depending on my schedule. But anyway, last year it was a bit delayed, but we got to celebrate Bugs Bunny's birthday. Seeing a couple of classic Looney Tunes shorts, including that right in the bowl, like the bowl in the cameo scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many great classic Looney Tunes films.
Of course, there's so many great classics.
It was so fun working with the voice team to, people like we had D. Bradley Baker
Billy
doing
West,
Daffy.
Kate
We had Billy West doing Bugs, yeah, and Bob Bergen. Oh gosh, he did Porky, Tweety, Marvin, and Bertie and Herbie. So and it was just great working with those voice people and to see them still keep the characters sounding the way they should and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, given all these streamers coming forward, creating so many shows, allowing many crazy, diverse ideas to get made, do you feel like you could make a movie like Space Jam again, other than the sequel that just came out?
I think so. I think there's so many different tools that are available now for storytelling that almost anything you can imagine, whatever style, I think it's achievable. And to me, that's an exciting thing. And I've done so much work over the years in the Disney theme parks and they're, you have all the different tools. You have audio animatronic figures, you have architecture, you have media, you have scrims to project on, now you're getting into augmented reality and virtual reality.
Oh my gosh, like the Frozen ride with the faces that are animated?
Yeah, so over years and years, there's more and more tools are developing. So, and my personal career trip starting with drawings on paper with traditional animation way back, jumping onto Tron with computers, then now I'm totally into, I was in the executive R&D Imagineer job for 5 years, where I'm dealing with technologies that aren't yet known by the public, so things that are in the process of emerging. So we were dealing with artificial intelligence and virtual reality, augmented reality, blended reality, audio animatronics, next-gen robotics. I don't know if you saw the Kiwi project that was just announced to the public. That's one reason I could even mention it is it's now made public.
That just announced
It's the little Groot, toddler Groot character that Disney announced, where it's a free walking robotic character. I was creative lead on that behind the scenes for several years running.
Like something for
But I just see all of those things as storytelling tools. So going back to your question, do I think something like Space Jam or even more ambitious could happen? And I say yes, just because the tools are getting better and they're being shaped by storytellers and artists and performers in a really good way.
I for one happen to have excellent skills in Microsoft Azure and Azure DevOps. As a matter of fact, we're getting ready for our biggest push. We're in the final step, and it's my duty to be a QA tester and to find out all the bugs in this project.
Interesting. That's great. So you do beta testing and stuff?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm a tech.
Are you talking about the cheesy, tune spliced over your skin thing? I'm pretty sure it's been so done.
What's that? With what voiceover?
Yeah, I've seen some of the samples before. They're not very good.
Oh, with Microsoft VoiceWork?
No, it was something else. I must have been thinking of something else. Sorry.
AI is being used to upscale stuff. I've been experimenting with it myself. AI is also being used to do text-to-speech stuff. I for one, happened to do a little experiment with Ringo Starr Thomas the Tank Engine, and oh, now I know why you do this. You're trying to lip sync exactly what I say with the puppet stuff. As a matter of fact,
right.
She always does that.
You got pretty close too. Yeah, you got pretty close. I worked with some Jim Henson puppeteers, and they also did that. But then they would sometimes put a puppet over their hand, but they could just do it with their hand too.
It pays to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah loves the Muppets.
Yeah, of course. Me too. For a second I thought that this was me being trying to drag. Like, do I have to stop talking? I thought it was like an motion, like saying, "Does have to stop?"
Like
talking.
the Jeopardy music or something.
Yeah. It's like a limitation. I mean, for one, yeah. we got for one, you actually have many things coming out. I think in post-pandemic, it's gonna be looking, shall we say, greener, more energy efficient. You know the Mandalorian where they use that big LED volume that manages to duplicate any sort of world and somehow moves within the space like some sort of holodeck. Sometimes I feel like I want to use that, but use it for the sole purpose of trying to recreate the Jerusalem that Jesus Christ walked in.
You could do it for so many different experiences. I actually got to go visit that stage before they started doing Mandalorian and see a demonstration. Like I was invited because I was working at Disney and in their R&D department. I got to go visit and walk right up to it and see the ground surface that was real dirt going to meet the LED screens where it looked like the dirt was continuing and it was perfect color and lighting match and everything. And it was just remarkable. So but yes, even to your eye, when you're standing there, it looked quite real. And then of course, through the camera, because it would track the perspective every time the camera moved all the way to the horizon, it just was a gorgeous effect. Well, but yeah, you could do any sort of walk at any point in history, any sort of experience you want to recreate. It would be gorgeous.
Well, of course, I want to do that. I'm you might, my apologies, but I believe in Jesus Christ. That's why I would want to try to pull off something like that, along with like an animated feature film about Jesus Christ. I'm not sure how you would feel about that. I mean, Passion of the Christ just.
Well, I mean, that's been done before, Jordan, and you don't need to walk on eggshells talking about your faith. I mean, it's the politics that won't work on eggshells these days.
Right.
Well,
right.
I don't want. Well, it's just I just believe that stuff, but I'm not going to discuss any political stuff because that is so divisive and so dark and everything that I want to be able to be a much kinder, calmer, sweeter, loving, caring person post-pandemic.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good thing. The main thing is empathy across the board, no matter what people's faith is, no matter what they believe in. To make it, having empathy for each other is one of the most important forms of imagination, because to have empathy, you have to imagine what someone else is feeling and going through, and sort of to walk in their shoes is the saying that we use. But I think that empathy for whatever people's different ethics, origins, their culture, their belief systems, and all of that, it's if we try to look past all those divisions and have empathy for each other, that's a great ways to use our imagination.
Yeah, I've done something like that, and talent has to invite. I mean, you can see, that picture on my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I've never heard empathy compared to imagination, but I like it. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it is. I actually did a study about a bunch of different forms of imagination, and that was one of them that emerged. People use imagination for all different things, but empathy is one of the big ones.
Yeah, I'm not.
I know because looking back at my That's Old Folks Art of Warner Brothers, book, then they did mention about 5 criteria Chuck Jones had when he was creating Coyote for the cartoons, and one of the 5 criteria was that the sympathy must be given to the coyote.
There were a lot of. I felt sorry for him many times.
Yeah.
I definitely did.
Yeah.
Did you see somebody did the cutest picture? They went out to the sand. I think it was they went out to the desert and they dug an exact coyote shape. In the cartoons where he whacks into the dirt and it becomes the cookie cutter shape. Well, they dug a hole in the real desert sand that was the shape of the coyote and took a photograph of it, and it looked hilarious. It looked like he had just fallen off a cliff and hit
I better look at that.
You might just share that with me on Instagram.
And it was funny. I saw it. Somebody had posted it on Facebook. It was very funny.
Julia, are you driving or are you riding?
I am riding. I would not be
Okay, that's the
I'm not
responsible
driving.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
boyfriend.
It's a high speed the car. You think it'd be obvious.
Well,
Well, in
Fun
Europe,
fact.
Well,
in England, they have it on the other side.
yes, in England, yes. Or you could just have a flopped photograph.
don't worry, Jordan. I'm always safe. I don't drive and do other things at the same time.
Yeah,
Right.
don't text and drive. So many,
That's
even the Georgia over here, we have a hands-free law.
Mm-hmm. It's smart. But it
Yeah.
has been super great talking to you, and thank you for joining us, Jerry. I have to jump and help navigate in a second, but we're
Okay,
gonna keep going. But it was lovely talking to you, and thank you so much for letting us ask you some questions.
likewise, Julia, nice to meet you.
See you soon. Yeah.
Yeah,
See
be
ya.
safe, bye-bye.
Okay. Yeah. I'll see you.
I do have one. I do have one question
Oh, yeah.
before we go. I mean,
Sure.
I just feel like it would be like, important for anybody interviewing. I mean, and what's like the weirdest thing you ever done in animation?
Oh, goodness. Probably the most experimental thing was I took a Radiohead song
Mm-hmm.
from the In Rainbows album, and I animated to it using just articulate matte technology, where I didn't use any of my drawing skills. I just did articulate mattes of the characters moving, and so that I have posted on my YouTube channel. And then another thing that was started out more sort of weird, and then it turned really charming,
Yeah.
was I wanted to do a project about graffiti coming alive. So, when you go in to see, like typically on a bathroom wall, people will draw with Sharpie or something.
Yeah, I
They'll
know what
do
graffiti is. I mean,
all kinds of crazy, but not just big wall graffiti. It's like bathroom wall graffiti where they draw on the stall, or they draw, and sometimes it's very rude and everything. But I wanted to do a show that was about social satire, where people would go into the bathroom and they would draw whatever character. So I wanted to have, like, from Foo Fighters, David Grohl. I thought, well, I'd have in my show, he'd be with his band members sort of playing an acoustic set at the side of a bar, and then he goes to use the restroom, and he does a drawing on the wall with this Sharpie. And I didn't want to tell him what to draw. I wanted him to draw anything he wanted. And then I would just scan it into the computer, and I would manipulate it and move it around. And then we'd use his voice to be its little voice. And then you do sort of social satire commentary with all these crazy drawings that live together on the wall. And
okay,
well,
like a voice thing or a book thing.
well, it was supposed to be like a live action show, but when you go in and look at the wall, there's real sketches on the wall. And it doesn't ever become animated. It's still live action looking at drawings on the wall, but the drawings can talk and move around and have their own life. But they would move around to the mirror and down by the sink. They might even go into the porcelain of the sink and then take a bath in the water when somebody washes their hands. So now that I tried to get going for over a decade. I spent probably 12 or 13 years trying to develop it. And then one day, some of my friends at Disney called, and they said, we're starting to cut steel on the new ships. The last time they did the move to the larger cruise line ships. And they said, this, usually we always plan the magic moment in the show before we build anything, and we build to the story. But this time it's the opposite. We already have to commit. They have to build the ship. They're cutting steel, they're building things, but we don't have the magic story that would go in there. But the place is going to look like animators' desks. So when you sit and have your meal, it'll feel like you're amongst where the animators used to bring life to the Disney characters and stuff. And I just went, aha, I have this idea of drawings coming to life. So why don't we make Disney drawings come to life? I used to be a Disney feature animator. That was my first job. And I thought, well, instead of using it for graffiti, I'll use it for the drawings on the paper. So I took my test animation, which I had done over 10 years earlier. I took it into their office and showed it to them, and they loved it. So I was able to then direct and put the show on the ship, the animation magic show that's on the two of the ships. So 700 people at a time can go into the restaurant, and you get different colored pins that you can use, and
Like fun for
sheet of
the kids.
paper that's like a placemat. And you can do your drawing of whatever character you want in my little template. There's a place to draw a head, a place to draw the body, a place to draw the arms. Whatever you draw, anything that's in your imagination, we then scan it behind the scenes. And before you're done with your meal, Mickey comes out and announces that your characters are now going to be in the show with him. And on many screens throughout the restaurant, you see Mickey Mouse use his magic. He's dressed up like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and he uses his magic to conjure them right off the paper. So you're drawing peels off the paper and stands next to him. And then he has them march behind him like he did with the broomsticks in Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Oh
And
man, that sounds
so
like
your drawings march around, and then I purposely had them a little stiff at first, so you think they're limited, but then they get more flexible and they move better, and then suddenly the genie from Aladdin comes roaring in and starts doing a dance, and your characters dance right with the genie. And for the rest of the show, your characters are in classic Disney movies dancing with the Disney characters. And so that's now on the ships, but it started with me spending a lot of time thinking about the idea of how to make a single drawing come to life. And I was using graffiti at the beginning, and then it turned into a Disney animation magic show on 2 of the big ships, and they're planning on spreading it to the whatever new ships and taking it to the older ships as well eventually. So that started out weird, and it wound up being really charming.
Oh man, it sounds like a plus from those drawful games from Jackbox.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's my, with that, I'm pretty sure more people, as they get shocked, they will end up going back onto those cruise ships and see some of that lovely work you've seen.
Yes, it's the more we get vaccinated, the more we can get out and do that kind of stuff again. So yeah, I hope that they get back on the ships.
A positive note. What time is it? Game time! Woo!
Game time. Boom! It is time for Space Jam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, don't call me doll.
Yeah.
That's right. I got.
All right.
And then further around, his back, and then all the way to his back. So I would do sketches to show turnarounds and stuff to get ready for all the different views.
All right.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Jordan and Tracy, and it was nice meeting Julie too.
Actually, her name is Sarah Hout.
Oh yeah, it's not Tracy.
Yeah, that's complicated. I don't prefer to be called here either.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to meet both of you.
All right. Talk to
You
you
take it off. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Space Jam.
Space
Bye-bye.
Jam.